Good afternoon and good evening to all of the people out there and in our audience that have chosen to come and learn about how to grow their practice the Nimble way. And I can't be more excited to be here with you, Monroe, because let's go ahead to your slide next. You've really been managing technology for law firms for quite some time, and you saw the opportunity to take that knowledge that you've learned of how larger firms use technology to manage their practice and processes and also outreach to customers to grow business, that you now have your own technology firm where you're consulting that with others. And the one thing I would love to share in my experience with professionals like attorneys and accountants is they don't think of themselves as salespeople, but in reality, we're all in sales. And if you're not constantly going out and nurturing your base of customers and working on referrals to net new customers, you're not going to grow your practice. What do you think, Monroe?
Oh, you're exactly right. I think that's the key, and that's why this is geared towards lawyers. But I think that, the things that I'm going to be talking about today are really applicable to any professional services organization that doesn't have a dedicated sales force, where the practitioners are the salespeople. I'll talk about that too in a little while, but I agree with you completely.
Perfect. And for those that don't know about me, here's my intro slide. I've been building relationship management systems all my life. I do it because I love people, and I think that people power your dreams. And I think there's nothing better in this world than to power other people's dreams. Because the more people you have grow, the more you will grow. So I build relationship management systems to serve others, and I really dig it. So with that, Monroe, take us away.
All right, thanks, John. So again, my name is Monroe Horn. I'm with TransformITy Solutions. It's a company that really aims to use technology to help small and medium businesses be more efficient and more profitable. And one of the key things that you can do to be more efficient and more profitable is to improve your business development and sales. And one of the great tools that I found for doing that is Nimble. And I think that it makes really the perfect CRM for law firms, and not just law firms, as I said before, but any professional services organization. My experience with CRM goes back a long way, probably maybe a little bit too long, all the way back to 1999 when I started managing law firm technology and used a product called Echo Pro. I don't know, John, you might remember that one. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Well, I think it was a PIM, right? Echo was
Yeah,
a PIM.
and it was a PIM, and you could use it to really do some crazy stuff. And it was, I think at the end of the day, it was too crazy and nobody could figure it out, and it died. And then I had to move my firm to Outlook. We worked with Outlook. I've worked with ContactEase, which is another big legal CRM system. And starting in 2008, I worked with Interaction, which is probably the largest and most popular law firm CRM system. And I worked with Interaction up until 2020 when I started TransformITy. And during that time, I managed everything having to do with the CRM and other marketing technologies at the firm, maintained the software, helped attorneys use it and develop best practices. So I have a lot of experience with legal marketing. And I think that's given me a pretty good understanding of what lawyers need for business development and how important CRM software can be to them. And to just take a step back and reiterate what John said earlier, what's different about lawyers and other professional service people is that they are both practitioners and they're also responsible for business development. They do not have a sales team, and they don't necessarily want a sales team. But the most important thing that I've learned over the years is lawyers are not salespeople. They don't think of themselves that way, as John said. Most other professionals don't, but they are, right? If they want to grow their business, they have to sell. If they want to improve their bottom line, they have to sell. And so that's a conundrum for them, right? They want to grow their business, but they're not salespeople, and they have needs in the business development area that are really different from salespeople, from companies that have a dedicated sales force. And that means that a lot of the tools that are out there don't work very well for them. And so that's why we're going to talk about Nimble and how it does work for them. And the reason it works so well for them is that the most important thing, I believe, with regards to legal business development is relationship management. And the most important element in that is keeping track of your contacts, managing your relationships period, and moving forward with building new relationships with people. But don't take my word for it. I've talked to, some of the people I know who are the best at legal marketing and great rainmakers at law firm. And here's what they say, right? Jack Rawson, a friend of mine who's a very experienced legal marketer, says 80 to 90% of new business comes from networking and relationships. Deb Scaringi, another extremely experienced marketer, says virtually all business comes from referrals and relationships. And then if you talk to actual rainmakers like Bruce Sunstein, the founder of Sunstein LLP, says almost all of his new business comes from his network. Advertising is great, but the network makes a difference. And Steve Saunders, who's a partner at Nutter in Boston and heads their IP department, says, when I asked him, he said, that's easy. 100% of new business comes from relationships. Advertisements really only support the story for the relationships. And this is borne out by statistical surveys as well. Clio's legal trends report, that was hard to say, says that in terms of revenue, firms using client intake and CRM solutions saw nearly double the growth in the first month of 2020 than other firms. So what this tells us is that the absolutely most important thing for lawyers and other business professionals to grow their business is through managing and developing relationships. And so that's what they need from a legal CRM system. So when you look at what a lawyer needs from CRM, it's really relatively straightforward. First of all, they need contact management. They need to
Monroe, can I interject here for 1 second?
Sure.
We all learn from questions, and as you go through your presentation, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the question box, and we will try to answer them in the background and then compile them at the end.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Definitely, and I'm looking at that, so if anyone does have any questions, please go ahead and throw them in there. So to get back to what lawyers need, they need contact management. They need to easily be able to add and manage existing contacts, be able to access those contacts on the move. That's pretty straightforward. They need to be able to group and tag their contacts. They need to be able to create groups of people so they can say, these are the people who I know who work in tax or who work in IP. So they need to be able to categorize and group. It's really important. They need to track activities. When did I last talk to this person? What's the next step for this person? And that's something that that is very difficult in most CRM systems and not so difficult in Nimble, as we'll see when I do the demo in a few minutes here. They need reminders. They need to say, I need to be in touch with, say, John every quarter and remind me to do that. And that's really, really critical as well. And then some lawyers and other professionals, some lawyers want to really get into a business development framework. They want to be able to track leads and have sales pipelines. And for those lawyers, not the majority, but a sizable minority of the best rainmakers, they need to have the ability to do that. They need to have advanced sales functions. They need to be able to work as a team with other lawyers in their law firm. And the last thing they need is they need to be able to integrate what they do with other marketing systems, especially for those firms that have a dedicated marketing person or marketing department even. And so, as I said, there are a number of legal CRMs out there. And And so the question might arise, why not one of these other legal CRMs? Interaction is an old and venerable product. ContactEase has been around. Intap has one-place marketing. But there's really three reasons that those don't work for most lawyers. The first is they're pretty cloud limited. Interaction has no cloud capability at all, really. The second is that they're extremely complex. You're talking about very complicated pieces of software that do a lot of different things that are expensive to implement and that require a lot of maintenance, which gets me to the third point, is that these are all really expensive. These are not things, these are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetimes, not things that are accessible to small and medium law firms. And so none of these really are going to work very well for a small to mid-sized law firm or insurance agency or accounting firm. But what about some of the competitors to Nimble, right? What about like Salesforce? Well, it has sales right in it, right? It should be good, but it's not really for lawyers because it's Salesforce. It's about managing a sales force. Other tools are similar and focus more on things like advertising campaigns and sending out mass emails and those sorts of things, which are really critical, but not really what drives business for individual lawyers. And beyond that, these are more expensive. They're expensive also. And by the time you start paying a large amount per person per month, it also puts them out of reach for small and medium law firms. And that's why we get to Nimble. And I've looked at all of these over the years, and I've come to believe that Nimble is a really different and special application that would be great for almost every small to mid-sized law firm. And that's because, number one, it focuses on contacts and relationships. It's not necessarily about advertising. It's not about emailing mass emails to mailing lists and things like that. It's about contacts and relationships. And as we saw earlier, that's what's most important. That's what drives almost all new business for law firms. The second piece is it's tightly integrated with Microsoft 365, which means you can synchronize your contacts automatically, saving the lawyers a lot of work. And even more importantly, it automatically will track certain activities. And I'll show you this in the demo. But basically, when you do something, when you send an email to a contact or when you have a meeting with a contact, that activity is automatically tracked in Nimble without you having to do anything with it. And that's huge because when I ran a CRM system for a law firm, the biggest issue was getting anybody to put in activities because it didn't happen automatically. So if I had a meeting with John, I would then, after the meeting, have to go in, fill out a form saying I had a meeting, with who, put in some notes. With Nimble, you don't have to do any of that. The meeting just shows up as an activity. If John is a member of that, is part of that meeting, boom, it's attached to him in Nimble. And that's big, that's huge. Third element that makes Nimble different is it's customizable. You can add fields to it. For instance, everyone wants to track in a law firm clients, so you can associate contacts with clients through dedicated fields, and that helps you understand more about your relationships. You can create other fields to store data, so it's customizable. And then beyond that, Nimble does have that advanced sales functionality. If you're an attorney who wants to track leads and push things through a sales pipeline, you can not only have one pipeline, you can have multiple different pipelines and do all of the things that you can do in more sales-oriented CRMs, but with all of the benefits of Nimble's focus on contact and relationships. And finally, there's the integrations and teamwork. Nimble allows you to work as a team and to share contacts with other people, and it also integrates with LinkedIn and on all sorts of other applications. So if your marketing team is using something like MailChimp or Constant Contact or HubSpot, you can easily integrate that with Nimble and get the best of both worlds. Give the marketing people the tools that work best for what they need to do, and give the attorneys the tools that they need to do what they need to do with regards to business development. So that's what makes, in my view, that's what makes Nimble really quite different and something that I think is really tremendous. But enough talk. It's almost 25 past the hour. Let's look a little bit at what Nimble does for attorneys. So I'm going to bring up Nimble here. And you should be able to see it now. If you can't, maybe John, you could let me know. But you can see when you come into Nimble, generally you come into a dashboard that shows you a number of different things. It shows you who you need to talk with, shows you your events, shows you any deals, and this is all customizable, so you can set it up the way you want. The meat of Nimble is in the contacts. And what I want to do now is to go back over what we said that lawyers need and show you how that works inside of Nimble, right? So the first thing we said is that they need to manage contacts easily. They need to be able to get them in quickly and then manage them. I'm not going to show it, but Nimble has an excellent Outlook add-in that allows you to, from an email, immediately create a contact for somebody. And then it also has a functionality to go out to LinkedIn and to try to find the LinkedIn record for that person. All of these pictures have come from LinkedIn or Nimble finding a LinkedIn contact and then adding the LinkedIn information automatically into the Nimble contact. That's huge, right? That automatic population of data saves attorneys a lot of time and effort, and being able to easily create a contact right from within Outlook is important. They don't have to go to Nimble to create a contact, although of course you can. And you can also easily find and edit your contact. So, if I open my friend Jack here, I can see his contact. And if I want to edit it, I can just click here, make any changes, save it. It's done. It's really quick. Across the top here, it shows all of the interactions that I've had with Jack. And you can see that these are emails. In fact, an invitation to this webinar. And I didn't do anything to put all of these activities in. Nimble did it all automatically for me based on its integration with Microsoft 365. So I can immediately see what my last contact was with Jack, and I haven't done a thing in Nimble to make that happen. It's all happened automatically. If Jack were a client, I could go ahead and add a client number, and I could use this to create a form with any number of other custom fields if I wanted to. And then I could populate those for Jack and really anybody else in my contact list. So Nimble ticks the box well when it comes to managing contacts easily. The next thing we talked about was tagging and grouping. This is really important for lawyers in business development, really for anybody, but we're talking about lawyers here. It's really important because you want to be able to easily put people together and create groups of people. Maybe it's the people that you want to send a Christmas card to. Maybe it is, all of the people that are in LA. And you can do that really easily with Nimble using tags and segments. So a tag is something that you can apply to a contact to put them into a particular group or add them to a list. So if you look at my tags here, right, you can see I invited Jack to this attorney CRM thing. So and you know what? I don't think he showed up too, which sort of bums me out. But anyway, I added him to the attorney CRM thing. He can be in multiple tags. So this could be, who do I send a holiday message to? Who gets chocolates? All those sorts of things. Who do I want to invite to a particular event? And I can tag any contact with those things and then bring them up based upon that contact, right? If I click here, I can see everyone I invited to this webinar, or here's all of the people, who I imported on a particular day. So I can do all of this. Look at, I don't have a lot of good tags here, but here's another one. I can go ahead and, add multiple tags, which is why these, I just figured out that's why these aren't showing up. So I can say I want everyone I sent a holiday message to, or I can turn that off, sorry about that, and then test to see who was invited to this. The other way that attorneys can easily work in Nimble is to use segments. And you can think of segments more like a saved search. So a tag is ad hoc, right? I can tag people and they can have multiple tags. And people can also be in multiple segments, but it's usually based on some property of the contact. So for instance, I've got a segment here called John's, and that's just everybody with the first name of John. Not super useful from a business development perspective, but you could imagine that this was maybe, judges, or it is, people who do tax law or something like that. And every time I add somebody with those characteristics, they'll be put into the segment. So if I add another contact with the name of John, it's going to automatically appear in this segment. So tags and segments give people a really easy way and a really efficient way to organize their contacts in pretty much any way that works for them and their business development activity. We've already talked about activities, but I also want to talk about what I think is is sort of the killer feature for Nimble for lawyers, because I've had lawyers for years who worked with interaction come up to me and say, you know what I need? I just need to be reminded to check in with particular contacts. And I can't do that easily in the CRM systems that we've used in the past. And that's absolutely true. And that's where Nimble really shines, because I can go into a contact. Let's go back to my friend Jack here. And right here, I can create or change a stay in touch reminder. And I can say, I want to stay in touch with Jack quarterly. And when I go to his record, you can see it's green. I've been in touch with him in the last quarter. But other people on my list, if I go back to my main page here, other people I haven't, right? I said I wanted to stay in touch with Joy at ILTA every day, and I haven't talked with her in 3 months. I said I wanted to be in touch with my accountant every day. Obviously, I don't. These are just demos for the purpose of this demonstration. I think Joy and my accountant would be really annoyed if I was in touch with them every day, but it's for the purposes of demoing it, I haven't been in touch with John. And I can see that quite easily here, and I can remedy it because I can just hover over John's name. I can click on message, and I can send him an email right from here. And this email will be coming from my Microsoft email address. So he won't know the difference between this email and an email that I created in Outlook, but I can do it all right here. So as soon as I see somebody I need to be in touch with, I can immediately go send them a message, say, hey, John, haven't talked in a little while. What's going on? Do you want to get together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's so easy. And I think, as I said, this is the killer feature. This is a thing that lawyers are going to love because it just lets you go in and say, oh, I want to, here's Michaela. All right. How often do I want to stay in touch with her? Oh, I'll say quarterly. I need to. Boom. I was last in touch with her today. It'll be green for a quarter. If I don't get in touch with her, it'll be red. Now she's on my list. Oop. And I can follow up with this list at any time. And so for me, when I found that out, that was exactly what people had been asking me for many years. And in Nimble, it's 2 clicks. And then beyond that, it's 2 clicks to get in touch with them, which is, again, a huge advantage for lawyers that don't have a lot of time, but still need to keep on top of all of their relationships because, as we saw, that's where all of the new money comes from. So reminders are really huge. And beyond that, there are these more advanced functions that we talked about, right? There's the ability, here's a sample, just a test deal that I created, right? So here's a deal, and I can put in all of these information, all the information about the deal, when it's expected to close. I can put it in a different pipeline if I want. I can put it in different stages of the deal. All of these are customizable. Each lawyer can have their own set of pipelines and stages, add people to this deal, and then really use it like a full-blown sales management system if a lawyer wants to. If they don't have to. That's the beauty of Nimble. You can use it for something really sophisticated like managing deals and managing pipelines, or you can use it just as a really excellent relationship management system. And both of those are going to improve your ability to bring in new revenue. And the last thing that we talked about was sharing with your team and integrating with other applications. So you can see when I go to my contacts, there's a section that says there's an owner, and I can keep these private, or I can share a contact with everyone in the firm, or I can just make it viewable to everyone in the firm so people can see it, but they can't edit it. Or I can assign custom rights, so I can share it with only some people in the firm. So Nimble also has that teamwork ability, and I think that's a great sort of best of both worlds type of scenario. I'm using my contacts to build my business if I'm a lawyer, but I can also share those with the other people in my firm, and we can use each other's contacts to build the business as a whole. And so that's, to me, those sorts of things are exactly what attorneys need, and Nimble offers every single one of them. And it's easy to use and cost effective. I'm going to go back now to finish up. If you're interested, what are the next steps? Well, first thing you can do is you can sign up for a free trial. You can do it through my website here. If you go to this page, you'll see that there's the opportunity to click and sign up for a free trial of Nimble. You can set it up yourself, but also on this page, there is an option to schedule a free hour of CRM consultation with me to help you not just set up Nimble for yourself, but to understand how it could work for your entire firm. And once you find that it works for yourself, you can take Nimble firm-wide, and we're going to be there to help you all along the way. And so again, special offer. If you are attending this webinar or watching the recording at some point, I encourage you to go sign up for a free trial of Nimble through this URL, and then also sign up for a free hour of consulting. And I can help you to understand not just how Nimble can work for you, but how you can integrate it into your entire firm so that you can be more efficient and make more money, which is the whole purpose of my business, is to help you be more efficient and make more money with technology. So that was a lot of talking. I'd love to have questions at this point about Nimble or how lawyers can use it.
I've got the question sheet here in front of me, Monroe, and
Okay.
this is a great time for anybody else to add some questions to the question area. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the questions was, and you know what, Monroe, maybe we can, you can send me the screen control, because what I may want to do is just show people some of these things that they can do
Sure.
from within the platform. So you need to take control back, Monroe. I'm so sorry. I got a new Mac and it's asking me for security access to my screen, and I didn't do that yet. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get these questions answered. So Jennifer had a question: does Nimble integrate with Outbound Engine? And Outbound Engines, for those that don't know, is a market automation platform. Typically, market automation platforms are good at what they do, which is capture leads and put them on nurture drip tracks. But the problem is once the lead qualified, which really depends on the person asking the question, but lead qualification typically means that they've come back and given you enough information that you could determine that they're qualified for your sales reps to engage with them. So maybe they attended a webinar and they gave you their email, and then they gave you their size of the firm and what location they're in, and maybe the status of their needs. And then you need to engage. But marketing automation systems aren't good at engagement. And that's really what Monroe's been talking about, is that Nimble is really great at contact management and engagement capabilities, and a great layer on top of your existing email productivity suite, whether it's Gmail or Microsoft, or even your marketing automation system. So the long answer to your question, Jennifer, is yes, you can integrate with Outbound Engine. There's a product called PySync, which currently is integrated into Nimble. And if you sign up for a copy of Nimble today, you'll be able to use PySync for free for the next year. So PySync will do bidirectional synchronization with Outbound Engine, and you could determine the logic. You could basically say, if they have this tag or they're on this list, whatever, you can go ahead and do that. The next question is from Chris. Can you create a contact from a web form? So a web form is essentially just a form that you can capture a lead from. And there's a lot of ways for you to build web forms. A simple way is just to use something like Google Forms, where you could essentially capture the data you need, and that data goes into a Google Sheet typically, and then you could take that Google Sheet and you could use Zapier to get all that information into Nimble. And so Zapier, like PySync, is a conduit for cloud productivity tools to connect applications and map contact info as well as ancillary custom fields, all of which you can capture into Nimble. And so it really depends on the web form that you use, but practically any web form that you create, you could use some type of external API to connect those two things together. And we're happy to help you with that. Monroe's, I'm sure, familiar with doing.
Can I jump in on that for a second? Yeah, all of these integrations. I mean, one of the great things about the cloud in general is that, and Nimble in specific, is that a lot of these tools have APIs that will let them talk to one another. Some are relatively closed and tremendously efficient, like PySync, which does synchronization really well, especially with M365. But then there are other tools like Zapier, or one that's a little bit more complicated, but I think more robust, is called Integromat. And then also Microsoft Power Automate, which you get pieces of it with your Microsoft 365 platform, and we've done integrations with all of these and Nimble, and most of them have some basic integrations right out of the box that work very well for integrating things like a new Google form to create a Nimble contact, or virtually any form system. I like JotForm a lot. You can use a JotForm and create Nimble contacts, all really easily. But then Nimble's API lets you do a lot more. And I've worked with that with a couple of those tools to do really much more complicated integrations. And it works out really well, and lets you pull things together that you could never do when you were on-prem. So that's one of the things that we specialize in at TransformITy, is not only bringing these things to people, but bringing them together and making the data come from all different places into one useful place. So anyway, integration is all.
And it's great that you know about using the API, because with the API, Monroe, you can do pretty much anything you want. But for those users that aren't familiar with APIs, there's a lot of external tools, and I looked up Integromat. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks for that tip.
Yeah, it's really
question from Dennis: does Nimble integrate with LinkedIn? And this is where I wish I had my screen. I'm so sorry that I don't have that set up. But the answer is yes. You can bring in all your LinkedIn contacts by exporting them from LinkedIn. There used to be an API where there was bidirectional synchronization between Nimble and LinkedIn, but LinkedIn came out with Sales Navigator. So they want you to spend $125 per user per month for Sales Navigator, which is basically the features you used to get for free on LinkedIn, but they put them on a paywall with a few other features. But effectively, your contacts in LinkedIn are kind of locked in LinkedIn. They let you export a subset of the data, and you can import that into Nimble. But what I love to use Nimble for within the LinkedIn flow is if I'm engaging with somebody on LinkedIn, whether I know them or not, I want to be able to bring up their contact so I can see who they are, what their business is about, and the history of interactions that my team and I have had on email, calendar, and social. And that's what Nimble does with our browser plugin. We call it Nimble Prospector, and it works inside of Chrome, Safari, Edge, etc. And when you are in LinkedIn, you could simply hover on a contact, and Nimble will either bring up the record if it exists or build a record if it doesn't, auto-magically adding their avatar, title, etc. And then that contact is within Nimble forever. And we literally do that on any website that you're on, including social, other business apps, etc. Like Monroe said, we do it inside of Office 365, Outlook, and G Suite, Outlook Mobile. But we also do it on websites, or even a business article. So if you're reading a business article and you want to be able to capture a contact and outreach to them, not only will we build the record, but we'll give you their email, and you can send them templated outreach directly from there. So you have anything to add on that, Monroe?
I use the Outlook add-in extensively. The general way that I do it is almost every day I look and just go through all of my sent emails and make sure that all the people that I've sent emails to are in my contacts. And I can do that just by bringing up the email, bringing up the Nimble add-in. It tells me who's on the email, and then right from there I can add them to my contacts if I'm not. And that's huge because it just really helps to easily get people onto that list. And then I can go ahead and do more work with them. And the other thing with LinkedIn is that it's not just necessarily with the prospector. Once you add somebody to Nimble, then Nimble automatically goes out and tries to find them on LinkedIn. And that's really helpful. That automatic population of information is I think really valuable.
It really is, because it's your job to know who somebody is and what their business is about. And most people don't do a good job of capturing that because we're human. We don't do data entry very well. And I loved what you said before, Monroe, that most CRMs fail from lack of use or second, bad data. And that the reason they call it Salesforce, you have to force salespeople to use it. Most CRMs aren't built for contact management or engagement. It's built for lead flow and reporting. And that's why most salespeople manage their contacts in Outlook, spreadsheets, and social. And that's why Nimble's unique in that it's really focused on the relationships and the contacting, but we still have the CRM and reporting features that you want, which gets us to Chris's question, which is, does Nimble manage pipelines? And if you could just bring up our pipeline flow, he asked, can you customize a workflow? And within the CRM aspect of Nimble, Monroe, if you can go ahead and
I closed it, so just 1 second.
Okay, so I'll let you do that while I talk through this. So Nimble enables you to manage a pipeline, and you can go ahead and customize that pipeline, and you can have multiple pipelines. And so if you go back to the pipeline up at the top, back to pipeline, no, you're right there. Just click the deals. There you go. Back to pipeline. Yeah, okay, that works too. So if you click pipeline, the drop down there, you'll see that there's multiple to the right, left, nope, left, nope, left.
Oh,
yep.
Got it.
Okay, so there's multiple pipelines that you can define. So you might have a pipeline for prospecting net new customers, and that might be customers for your law firm. But you might also have a pipeline for existing customers where there might be a nurture track, or you might have an outreach for different types of customers. or you might have an outreach for the influencer of the customer. So if I was a lawyer and I wanted to access my particular prospect, I might build relationships with the trusted advisor of those prospects. For example, I'm a real estate attorney and I deal with people that develop real estate. So the real estate developers have to deal with they have to deal with other professionals that manage those parts of their processes, which could be their accountants. It could be contractors. So there's a lot of people that you could use, and the pipelines that we allow you to develop the stages and collect the data that you need in order to manage those pipelines. So hopefully that answered that question for you, Chris. And then we've got some love from Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you so much for your kind words. She says, I'm already a Nimble user. I've used HubSpot, Salesforce, and by far, Nimble is the best. Thanks for all your help. Your people are always checking in with me, and I love it. And Jennifer, you know, we really are powered by helping our customers grow. And when you shout us out, it's so great. And I love that you're from Minnesota. My Irish ancestors had farms in Winona. And I've been to Minneapolis, but I still need to make my way out to southern Minnesota. And then Chris had a question: can it integrate with case management system and an accounting system, so I could see in Nimble how much a client has spent with us? So yes, Nimble will integrate with literally any business system tool, like Monroe was mentioning before. There's a lot of ways to do those integrations with tools like PySync, Zapier, and Integromat. What a name!
Yeah.
And essentially, what I recommend doing is connecting to those external systems with the APIs if they exist. If they don't, you could just do an export, and then mapping that data into Nimble custom fields. For example, you could map from the accounting system the last invoice date, year to date, last year's sales, amount owed, past due. All these things are clues for you to then segment in Nimble and then do outreach with our templated emails, which you could send one-to-one or one-to-many. And I think that as Monroe said, most businesses garnered through recommendation and referral and repeat business. And most professionals don't do a good job of doing that. And most of the people they can mine are in their accounting system. And then there's some other cloud tools for managing law practice flow. And Monroe is familiar with a lot of those.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the particular case management system, whether it has an API, whether it's cloud-based. There's certainly ways to do it no matter what. But that it can get tricky if the depending on the case management system. But that's again another thing that we've been doing a lot at TransformITy is looking at ways to pull that out and to get that data moving between systems, whether it's moving from Nimble into the accounting system with changes that are made to a client record, an address or something like that, and automatically updating it in the case management and accounting, or taking data out and putting it into custom fields in Nimble, or in fact, bringing the data from both of those into a dashboard or something like that, because you can do all of those different things once you have your data organized and properly managed. And so there's so many different options these days with the cloud and with APIs that it's really exciting, because you, like I said, you can say, well, we want to put stuff into Nimble, or maybe we want to take stuff from Nimble and put it somewhere else, or maybe we want to build a dashboard in Power BI or in some other tool that brings it up so that lawyers can just go to a website and see all of that information by contact and by client. There's so many options when you're doing case management and then you're integrating in these cloud tools with robust APIs.
And then Chris also had a further following question: does it integrate with Xero? Yes, it does. All of the integration tools support Xero accounting. And then as far as pricing, the base price of Nimble is $25 per user per month. And with that, it looks like we've come to the end of the questions. Let's cover how people can get a hold of you, Monroe.
Yep. You can always, first of all, go to transformitysolutions.com/nimble to access the sign up for a Nimble trial and the sign up for consulting. Otherwise, you can always email me or connect with me via the website or LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk with anybody about some of the things that we've talked about today, or any other technology issues that you might have.
And for those that want to get a hold of me, simply Google me. You'll find that I have identities across all the channels that you connect and communicate on. And I'd love to hear from you about how we might help your business grow and even improve Nimble. And Monroe, I want to thank you for taking the time to share with us your expertise on the needs of professional people and the value of them managing relationships. I think that what you said is this is applicable to really any business professional. And I think that
No
most
doubt.
CRMs, unfortunately, are designed for the sales lead process where sales reps are essentially at a desk, pounding the phone, attacking people to get them to buy. And that most business professionals don't really manage relationships that way. They really build them on building relationships and getting repeat business and referral, and that really most business people need more of a contact manager or relationship manager than a lead reporting CRM. And the thing that Nimble provides, that team relationship manager plus the basic sales and marketing CRM features, is I think one of the reasons why you think it's a great fit for professionals like law firms and accounting firms. What do you think?
Absolutely. And for me, yeah, I use it myself. So for everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for attending the webinar today. Monroe, why don't you take us out with some parting thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you and Michaela for having me on this webinar. And I think that things like Nimble are really the cutting edge of what can make small organizations competitive with larger organizations that are spending millions of dollars on this sort of thing. And it can also give you a competitive edge over your competition of a similar size. This is available to everyone, but it requires people to understand what they need to do and then to make that investment. And when you do, you'll have a huge competitive advantage.
And I just want to thank everybody who attended, as well as especially the people that asked questions. Jennifer, Chris, Dennis, thank you so much. And I love the fact that Chris asked so many questions, and he's not even a law firm. He's actually a business consultant in the UK, and he helps businesses grow in the UK. So Chris, I look forward to learning more about you and getting to know you and your customers. And with that, have an amazing Thursday. Enjoy springtime as the green grasses grow and the flowers blossom, and promise explodes on the horizon for us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.